I am excited to make this video. We are going to be comparing Kadena and Kaspa. I just cannot wait to hear what you guys think about this because these are two super campy projects. Everyone's the Kadena and the Kaspa and the this, and Kaspa people hating on KDA and KDA people hating on KAS, and I find it pretty amusing, pretty interesting, but I wanted to look at some different aspects of both of these projects. We're going to be looking at the transactions. We're going to be looking at development activity. We're going to be looking at TVL. We're going to be looking at their founders. We're going to be looking at their inflation, tokenomics, all these different aspects of these two projects. They're both proof of work. This is not financial advice. Do not take this information and invest based on it. This is for entertainment purposes only. So I'm just going to be starting with where Kadena is at right now. It's recently gone on a nice little run, almost about 100%. I think in the last couple days, we're up at $1.30. We are at a $331 million market cap. Circulating supplies, 256 million. We got real low in the bear market in the 40-something cent range, and our all-time high, $27. So we are way, way, way off the top. Some people said it's a rug pull. Some people are saying it's dead. I think that it's showing that it has survived the bear market, but we will see. We'll see if it's come back. I actually just picked up a little bit more, full disclosure. So we have Kaspa here at around 10 cents. We're at a $2.3 billion market cap. That's almost 10 times the value of Kadena. So Kaspa has gone on an insane run. People have made crazy returns who were in Kaspa early. We're a little bit off the top of about 15 cents. So we've come down, what is it, about 40%, something like that, 30-something percent. Total supply, 22 billion, max supply, 28 billion. That is something that I'm going to cover about the inflation, the tokenomics of Kaspa. So here's our Kaspa price. Here's the chart in the last 30 days showing you what's come. It's come down a little bit, basically. We had our big run already, and we'll see where it goes in this bull market. Okay, so one thing I want to compare is the development of these projects and what's going on the chain. And unfortunately, Kaspa has not executed their smart contracts yet. So there is not very much in the projects that's going on here. So we do have Kadena. Kadena only has 55 projects though. I would love for Kadena to have more projects built on the blockchain in the amount of time they've been building. So they do have some ecosystem. They do have Marmalade, their NFT marketplace. They do have KD Swap and Exchange. They are working with Ledger. There are smart contracts being executed on Kadena. You can create NFTs, you can build apps, you can do these things, but the project growth has been small. So this is something that is very important with every crypto, and that is inflation, tokenomics. And I want to compare Kaspa to Kadena, and it looks like Kaspa is taking the cake on this aspect. They have already mined 76% of their total supply of coins. So the inflation for Kaspa going into the future looks like it's going to be minimal in comparison to Kadena. Kadena has a lot of inflation. This is one of the things that I am least happy with Kadena is how much inflation this token has and going to be having into the future. We're at 256 million tokens out of a max supply of 1 billion. So it's almost the flip side of Kaspa, where basically 25% of the supply is in circulation. There's going to be another 75% of the rest of the tokens that are going to be mined and are going to come into supply through emissions. If you look at this graph here, this shows you the emission schedule and the mining schedule for the tokens. So there is a massive, massive, massive amount of emissions up until 2025. And then the Genesis platform emissions does decrease a little bit and kind of evens out with the mining emissions. But still, you just look at this growth here. We're going to be basically doubling up to 500 million by 2029, and that just adds selling pressure to the token. So I personally do not like to see this, and this is an unfortunate aspect about Kadena. So with every altcoin, every project, I want to look at TVL, total value locked on the chain. Kadena is not crushing it in this aspect. They have 2.59 million locked. They have market cap to TVL ratio of 129, which is not a great number. We want a very low number there. We want a low ratio. They're number 120 on the list of TVL rankings. It's not great. It's not terrible. We have seen a little bit growth here in the last couple weeks. That's probably because the token has come up in price. That's usually what happens as a token comes up in price, TVL goes up, or vice versa. TVL goes up, token price goes up. They kind of work hand in hand. Unfortunately, Kaspa doesn't have any TVL at this point. So that just is what it is. They haven't done their smart contracts yet. They don't have lending protocols. So there is zero TVL for Kaspa. Let's talk about the coding languages of these projects. Now, Kaspa is built in Golang, which is a pretty well-known language. It's one of the languages that's used in Google, and I'd say there are a lot of developers that build in this language, which is good for Kaspa. They're also going to be adding the capability to code in Rust, which is also a very popular coding language, and it's the same language that Solana uses. And it seems like, looking at these projects, the more developers that know these languages, the better it is for the project. Now, Kadena uses a new blockchain coding language called Pact, which the founders have said is this incredible language. They can do all these super smart contract things with this language, and it's incredible. I haven't actually coded it with myself. I think the way I'm seeing it, though, unfortunately, is that there are less developers that know this language. So people have to learn a new language to build. This could be a path of resistance of why Kadena is having a hard time bringing on new projects, but that is just what it is, and we'll see what happens in the future. So something that's always important with these projects is looking at the founders and who's building these blockchains. We're going to go over Kadena first, and then we're going to get into Kaspa. So Kadena was founded by Stuart Popejoy and Will Martino. They are the two main founders of the projects, and they do have quite a credible background. They worked for JP Morgan Chase and helped build their blockchain, the first blockchain for JP Morgan Chase. It seems like they have worked in traditional finance, basically. So some people would say, oh, this is a really red flag, screw traditional finance, screw centralized banking. You could see it that way. You could look at the flip side of that coin, and that is that they understand regulation, they understand traditional finance, and they can bring that knowledge into the crypto space. So if we check out their LinkedIn, so let's look at their work experience. Will Martino was a financial technology manager and VP at JP Morgan Chase. He was a senior science advisor at the US Securities Commission and Exchange. So it seems like he has quite a bit of experience with the SEC and dealing with securities. He was a researcher at Yale University. It doesn't seem like he actually got a degree from Yale. It looks like he took some courses at Yale. I think that's possible to study some courses at these Ivy Leagues. People put them on their resumes. So then here it says he was a software engineer at Axial Market. He was a quantitative researcher at Barca Capital, and he worked in client services at IO and trading. So I would say his work experience does look pretty great. I mean, I think it seems like he has a lot of experience, a lot of technology experience, a lot of financial experience. Stuart Popejoy was an executive director, new products division at JP Morgan as well. So also worked in traditional finance. He was the head of algorithmic trading at Pragma Securities LLC for 4 years. He was the head of trading systems at Pink Sheets, team lead architect at Jupiter Media Matrix, RT Data Exchange developer, senior programmer analyst at Cooley Goodwork Croonish for 3 years, programmer analyst, and then he was a programmer at Apple for a very short term. Looked like some sort of internship as one of his first credits on his work experience. But I would say there's quite a bit of good information here and good track record and good experience for these guys. And it seems like with Kaspa, there's been a big narrative about their founder and his experience and the white paper. And he was featured in the Ethereum white paper, and people are really excited about it and really pumped. But it seems like, these narratives get spread around, and the same narrative happened for Kadena last year during the last bull market. The narrative about all the experience they have against the SEC, it's going to stop them from getting labeled a security. They understand traditional finance, A lot of these narratives, they just get spun in a way that becomes bullish or that catches on and people freak out about it. So just be aware. So Jonathan Sompolinski, who developed the Ghost DAG white paper, and he was also featured in the Ethereum white paper. That was one of the big narratives for him. But as you've seen in one of my last videos, if you watch my last video on him, that he doesn't seem to have a lot of work experience, or at least he's not putting it on LinkedIn for whatever reason. He might have more work experience that I don't see, but basically his education is the Hebrew University of Jerusalem, and he is credited by Harvard as an associate in computer science on their website, but there's also Jonathan Sompolinski's homepage at Harvard, and it seems to be blank. So take that for what it is. But based on what I'm seeing, I'm not seeing the same track record as something like Kadena. Now, who knows what's going to happen with these projects? Who knows what's going to happen with the price? I want to know what you guys think. Also, if you are liking this content, please smash up that like, hit the subscribe button, help a brother out. I'm actually going to be giving away 5 Solana tokens to one of my subscribers when I hit 1,000 subs. So hit that sub button. Let's keep going. This part I think is super important. Let's talk about the blockchains, or the block DAG versus the blockchain of Kadena. Now, Kaspa uses a new type of technology called a block DAG, where I go deeper into this in one of my other videos if you want to, but basically it creates a chain that isn't linear. It's more in the shape of like a tree, and they can do multiple blocks simultaneously at the same time. And it also supposedly creates more security. I think this is one of the major narratives for Kaspa that's getting it so bullish, is that it's found a new way that's supposedly better than all blockchains, kind of. It's better than the blockchain technology. It was part of the Ghost DAG protocol white paper, and the block DAG is something that's different. Now, Kadena, their story narrative that blew them up during the last bull market was 480,000 transactions per second. Oh my God, this is insane, because they have 20 different chains right now, and they can supposedly scale this to like an infinite number of different chains. But this is a very different type of technology, a different concept, where instead of having a single linear chain, or instead of having the Ghost DAG tree type of format, or it's in clusters, this is a multi-chain. So they're just kind of stacking more and more chains. Each chain has a certain amount of throughput. You increase the number of chains, you increase the throughput, and supposedly the scalability should technically be infinite, but we'll see how that actually comes to play. Now, with something like the 480,000 transactions per second, this is hypothetical, I would say still. This is based on the math that could happen, because this chain hasn't ever done 480,000 transactions per second. If we look at Kaspa's transactions per second, it's saying it's maxing out at 400 transactions per second. But if we look currently, the amount of demand on the chain right now, Kaspa is doing about 1 transaction per second, is also doing 1 block per second. That doesn't mean that it can't do more. I couldn't find how much Kadena is actually doing currently transactions per second, but I did find transactions per day. So let's get into that. Here, let's look at the transactions per day for Kadena as well as Kaspa. Now, Kadena recently, about a day ago, did 303,000 transactions in 1 day. Kaspa was looking at 120,000 transactions per day. So Kadena right now is doing almost 3 times the amount of transactions per day as Kaspa. And if you look at it, that doesn't mean that the price is higher, because the price and the market cap of Kadena is way, way, way lower than Kaspa right now. So transactions per day is not necessarily what drives the price, but it does show activity on the chain. So take that information as you will.